Speaking of Washington, we got a lot going on that I-95 corridor, specifically here inside the Beltway on Capitol Hill. We've been watching now these abuse allegations that have rocked the Capitol, this family drama that's spilled out into the open. It's threatening to upend a key House race. And in just the last hour or so, an Ohio Republican accused of abusing his ex-wife and daughter is reiterating he is not going to drop out of the race. Of course, we're talking about Congressman Max Miller. Remember, his ex-wife, Emily Moreno, accuses him of things like holding a gun to her head, throwing her against the wall, throwing hot water at her. Police also investigated their 2-year-old daughter's broken collarbone and bruises for possible abuse. Miller denies all these allegations. He has not faced criminal charges. In the last couple of minutes, Miller, in a new interview on CNN, described a conversation with President Trump about his political future.
Did he tell you what he is telling aides privately, that he does not think you can win?
Look, the conversation I had with him yesterday at 9 a.m., and I've gotten a million phone calls about this, and this is what's so troubling. Look, he called me and he said, Maxie, it's going to be a tough race. And he said, I don't know if you're going to be able to, pull this one out. And you know what, Jake? I reminded him of the same resilience that he had when people told him that he was going to struggle in 2016 and he became the 45th president of the United States. And I have the utmost confidence that my constituents back home know me.
Miller also filed the paperwork, he says, today for the House to open an ethics investigation into himself. So he's basically asking them to investigate him, saying he has absolutely nothing to hide. Now, here's another piece to all of this. His ex-father-in-law happens to be a Republican senator. He's the senator from Ohio, Bernie Moreno, Emily's father, a fellow Republican. In the last couple of hours, he says no matter what, he believes Miller is not fit to serve. Scott Wong is live for us on Capitol Hill. And in this new interview just tonight, Miller sounded defiant. He did not sound in any way like somebody, and you heard him in that soundbite there. In no way did he sound like somebody who was interested in dropping out by tomorrow, which, of course, is the deadline if he were to drop out for Republicans to replace him on the ballot.
That's exactly right, Hallie. He is clearly defiant. He says he's not going anywhere. He says that nobody has called for him to drop off the ballot, not Speaker Johnson, not President Trump. That is technically true, but it is not clear whether or not he has those individuals' support. At least, we heard what the conversation was like privately. So he is being told maybe one thing privately, and publicly, so far, people are sticking with him. You mentioned the deadlines. There is a key deadline tomorrow, August 5th, Wednesday. That's the deadline for Miller to drop out, to allow somebody else to be on the ballot. If that's the 3-month mark. If Miller stays on but drops out later, then election officials from Ohio would then step in and have to call a special primary election. So those are some of the moving parts. But as we heard from the CNN interview, Miller appears that he's staying the course and not dropping out.
Here's what his ex-father-in-law, Senator Bernie Moreno, had to say earlier today as well. I want to play that piece of interview.
This is truly the 7th level of hell. This has been a horrific experience for my entire family. If there's any minimum standard for being an elected official, as I said, he fails to meet that minimum basic standard. I don't care about the politics at all.
Senator Moreno has made clear that this has been an agonizing process. He says for him, you've got questions around where this goes and the sort of spotlight on Miller, on this district. Questions, as you alluded to, about Speaker Mike Johnson, who hasn't said a ton about this. Miller told CNN that Mike Johnson backs him. We don't know, what he's basing that on, if the two of them had a private conversation, et cetera.
Exactly. And you can tell, listening to Senator Moreno, the strain in his voice, the toll that this has taken on his family. He specifically talked about the toll it's taken on his daughter, his wife, his granddaughter. He told very personal stories about how he picked his granddaughter up at the police station just on Sunday from Congressman Miller because his daughter was too afraid to see her ex-husband. In that story, he recounted how there was a dispute over a stuffed animal, and that Max Miller was essentially holding his daughter's stuffed animal hostage. Miller, in the CNN interview, denied those claims. Clearly a very messy, horrible issue for these Republicans and the Republican Party in general.
Scott Wong, plenty to watch on the Hill. Thank you very much.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.